I'm here to show you how to make my version of a classic felt rose. So we'll start with using 3 different shapes of petals. This is for the very center, the second layer, and the third. I have SVG files and PDF patterns available for all 3 of these shapes. So the first thing I'll do is start with the middle pieces, and I have 5. And I start by twisting it in and twirling. And I like to twirl it towards the hand that I use for my glue gun. So for me, it's from left to right. And then I have my glue gun ready on this right side of my body. So I will spin it in, twirl all the way over, stop about ½ an inch from the end or however long you feel comfortable, put some glue, and then finish, and then just hold it for a second. So that's the rhythm that works best for me. Then I'll just go on to the next piece of felt and start where I left off. I'll overlap it a little bit. You can do that if you want to. I just like to give it that layered look. But don't worry too much about fitting these together perfectly. A slight overlap will work just fine. The glue's still a little hot and sticking to my fingers, but this specific glue gun I use is Sure Bonder Fine Tip, and I have just found for some reason that it doesn't burn like some glue guns do. It's really easy to work with, and that fine tip is key for felt flowers, or really anytime you're using a thin strip of glue. That fine tip makes the biggest difference, and I think is the key to not burning yourself. Okay, so one more piece. Got glue strings that'll fling my felt pieces off the table sometimes. Anybody else do that? Okay, so all the way around, and then just hold it tight. So this is the very center, finished. The next piece we'll use is this circle with the flat bottom, and the reason I cut off that bottom of the circle is just to save on felt. You could easily just cut more circles and then trim off the bottom yourself if you'd like to do that. So I only put glue on half the petal, so a little bit out into the side, and then about halfway through I pick a place where I want to start, usually where 2 petals meet. Just kind of line it up. The bottoms will match. So flat side of the circle to the bottom of the felt center. And then I've got this little piece that's not glued on, which will be perfect when I want to come around and put under the last piece of felt so that it overlaps correctly. So a little bit on the side, bottom up onto the side, and then overlap. And then just hold my fingers along where that glue is placed. So it just sits there and adheres really strongly to the felt layers. Keep going. We're gonna do this until we get back to where we started, which will be a total of 4 flat circle petals. So I'm gluing up the side along the flat bottom, up a little bit, and then lay it along the flat side. So I just overlapped as much as I needed to make it fit over here. And then I'm gonna tuck it underneath. So if we hadn't left this flap up, I would have to glue over it. But then it just wouldn't lay right because we have this petal over instead of over and under, and we want it over and under. So that allows us to lay it underneath the first petal and then go back and put glue just on that bottom and side that we left off at the very beginning and overlap it just like that. So we've got 1 layer of petals around that center, and we're going to do a total of 3. I'm going to do glue half because this is the first petal on a new layer, so up the side half and stop. Pick one of the petals where they overlap, and I like to line it up to where the half circle fits about halfway over. And then just hold it down, press it down. This one I'll glue up a side, down bottom, and up the other side just a little bit, and overlap it however I want to. So it doesn't have to overlap a certain way. We're just trying to fit it over. So I mean, if I were going to be exact, let me measure, say about 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch overlap. And then I'm seeing that this is coming up, so I'm going to move it over just a little bit more, closer to 1/2 inch of overlap. And then this is my last one, glue all along the bottom, fit it underneath that first petal and overlap it. So I start on the opposite side because I know I want it to go underneath that first petal and then bring it over as far as it needs to go to fit into this last little space. And then just tuck that over the top of my last petal of this layer. So, you know, my thinking is that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Roses are all different. They look different depending on which one you're looking at. So our roses don't have to be perfect, and they don't all have to look like each other. So that's where there's some freedom to overlap differently. And one of the things I like about making felt flowers, I always tell myself, you know, every flower in the wild can look different as well. Nothing's going to be perfectly symmetrical to each other. So we have some freedom to be creative within felt flowers too, and not stress about all of our felt flowers looking exactly the same. Even within the ones we make for a single bouquet, if your roses vary a little bit, I think that just can give some, you know, realistic appearance to it. And the more you make one specific flower, the more consistent it will be. And you'll kind of figure out exactly how many petals to use on each layer. So because we've widened out, the size of this flower is bigger for this third layer. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. So there are 4 petals for the first 2, and then 5 for the last layer of that half or that flat circle. So here I'm going to use my 1.5 inch circle for the last layer. I'm just going to pick a spot and just glue just a little semicircle, just halfway along, and I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go all the way across. Okay, so just line it up to where I have a flap that I can tuck a petal in it when I come around. When I come around. Okay, so there's the second. And for these other petals, I'm just going all the way, almost like a half circle, because I want these circle petals to glue pretty high up onto the sides so that they don't fall over too much. But we can always adjust that later on too. Like if you don't put your glue high enough, you can always come back. I'm running out of glue. Let me get another glue stick. You can always come back and add more glue rather than take it away. So it's kind of something to keep in mind. If your glue isn't high enough on the petal, you can always come back and add more. See, messy doesn't matter. No one will see that. Just going to fit it right on there. I've got one more. So at this point, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my 7th circle. And I'm going to start where I want it to lay underneath and then just bring it over here as far as it needs to go to fit. And then add glue and anchor it down. So as you can see, this petal shows more than this petal. You know, I'm not going to worry about it. It's something I could adjust next time if I wanted to or be more aware of, but I don't mind that too much. doesn't bother me. I'm now going to the back of the petals, and this is where I give that pinch. So I've put a little tiny string of glue on the outside edge of this petal, the back. So I pick it up, I turn it towards me, and I start and go up to the top. That way I can just control my glue gun a little bit better. So I go from bottom to top, and then I put my glue gun down and pinch it and hold it because I don't want that to pop back open. Pick up my glue gun, start where I want it to, pull it up to the top edge. And if glue comes out the top, like I'm seeing it's about to do here, because I used just a little bit too much, all I'll do at the very end is come back and trim that off. So that's not a big deal. There's a lot of ways to kind of clean up some glue. So it's nothing to stress about. It's going to happen when we work with hot glue to where it kind of oozes out. You pinch and hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count if you want to. Go on to the next. And I'm just kind of eyeballing about halfway across the petal. I want it to be in the center, but I'm not too worried about it being exactly in the center. Up. And then pinch it. Up. And hold it. So at this point, I have put all of the petals on my rose, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so then I can make some adjustments to clean it up a little bit. I love my tweezers for that. The first thing I'll do is go to the center, and if I want to tighten up that center, I can. So I'll just grab it and then twirl the flower around, twist it around, pull the tweezers straight up and out, and then that gives me a little bit tighter circle in the middle. And then I'll just kind of look, for any stray glue strings. Take my scissors, check here for any glue that just needs to be trimmed off those decorative tips. And this is just a really easy way to, even if you cut a little bit of felt off, it's a straight edge and it won't be noticeable. Then I can turn it over and decide, like there's a little bit of glue showing right there. So I do like to use scissors with a sharp point so I can kind of get in there and just cut a little bit of that glue away or just flick it off with those sharp points. Something else I keep in mind is I'm planning to come back, if I'm planning to come back and put a stem on it, I'll put the stem and then a leaf. And a lot of this won't show because the leaf will be over it. Or you might be gluing it onto a sign or a wreath, and then you really can't see it. So depending what I'm using the flower for, kind of determines how much time I spend cleaning it up. Like if this were on a wreath, I really wouldn't even worry about cleaning it up at all because it's literally not going to be visible. But if it is on a stem and I want to just make sure it's super clean all the way around, then I can come back, and if too much glue is showing there, I'll just add it a little bit more and hold it tight so that it doesn't pop open and you can't see any glue, for example. If that's something that was bothering me, then I could do that. Another thing we can adjust is if something is falling too far, like if we didn't put our glue as high up as we wanted. See, so like right here, if I want this petal to just be glued a little bit higher and stand a little bit taller instead of falling over, then I'll just add the glue now and I can see how it looks that way. So if you had, not added enough glue, no problem, we can come back around and do that now. So that's how I clean up my flowers at the end. And I'll usually wait to do that until I'm finished. And there we go. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help with whatever you need. And I think this rose just looks so pretty in so many different colors. So I hope you enjoy making it.